the cloud.
Talia and Aravind, welcome. I see you guys there. Don't actually see you, but I see you guys there. Welcome to the call.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kick off the official part of the call. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our community call. And today we will be trying to find out the solutions for the problems that our community members have. So we will have the first ever mastermind session for AI product Hive. So that's huge for us. That's super interesting. And the second part of the call will be a discussion. So we are eager to hear your thoughts on the topic that we will try to discuss. Please bear in mind that the call will be recorded. And this is the agenda for today's call. So this is the intro session, the small presentation about what we will be doing right now, the mastermind thing. So if we will have more time, I guess we can be a bit flexible there. So we'll see how much time will it take. And the second part is the discussion about fake AI demos. So you've probably heard about some of the most outrageous cases with the Google presentation that happened several months ago. And the latest one is the Rabbit hardware, and they are actually happening all the time. But this is something that we will discuss a bit later. So please check out what an amazing team we've gathered today. So I'm sorry if I have not mentioned everyone who's on the call right now. Unfortunately, I can't see the participants right now, but those are the people who left a reaction to a comment in the Slack group. So 1 second, I'll move the Zoom thing. So Franmi is a product and growth and content marketing specialist. He's a co-founder at Discovery AI. Dan is a marketing partner at B20 Labs Venture Studio, co-founder at Dapier. Ahmad is a product manager with 6 years of BA experience. Natalie is a growth lead at Inductor. Alan is an AI engineer and experienced full stack software engineer and strategic tech leader. Juan is a senior product manager and product leader.
Juan's there twice. Juan, you are so good that you get to be listed twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna apply.
He will be present on the next slide as well. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, John is the founder of Engaged Digital Media Solutions. Valerie is a senior product manager, and Jackie, I don't know if you're on the call right now. We have not met each other yet, but hopefully we will be soon enough. So this is the first time that we have our mastermind. So this is the format. So each participant presents a current challenge or like a project that you're working on related to AI. So you can share what your pain points are, what you'd like to solve, or get the feedback from the community. As you've seen on the previous slides, everyone on this call is super experienced in some area. And honestly, I'm super glad that we've been able to gather such an experienced community. So yeah, thank you very much for that. So I'm pretty sure together we will be able to solve any problem that we have. And the second part is basically the roundtable feedback. So like 5 minutes per participant probably would be like either less or more, depending on the topics or ideas. But this is basically the format. So if you have anything to share regarding the issue that the fellow community member has, that would be fantastic. So yeah, please share some feedback, emphasize on like practical advice, resources, or personal experience related to your work or personal life. And follow-up questions, please ask them so that we will try to clarify something. And please drop a plus in the Zoom chat right now. If you've got something that you'd like to discuss, if you've got some issue with your software or would like to get an advice from the community members, please do so that we would know who might be next. And right now, our first topic comes from Juan. So like I'll read that from the slide, but yeah, Juan, please feel free to add something on top of that. So Juan is in the middle of proposing using OpenAI as an insurance claims at first, but eventually sales, and then lots of use cases, not only for insurance, but for the banking industry as well. And he'd like to get some input from us. So yeah, Juan, can you please elaborate maybe on this a bit deeper so that we would understand how we can help you with that?
Absolutely. How's everybody doing? My name is Juan. I recently started working in a bank in Paraguay called Bueno. They are basically trying to revolutionize banking industry as a whole, but let me just give you a little bit of context. In Paraguay, basically 1% of the population was ultra rich until recently, and the other 99% were mostly in poverty. And right now, the middle class is starting to scale up. And what we're trying to do is offer to technology lots of possibilities that probably we used to take for granted, honestly, like things like having a credit card, having your salary be paid through the bank, and stuff like that. And what I'm working right now is actually on insurance. I'm trying to give them innovative insurance solutions, both on every single step of the journey, okay? Be it for corporations, for individuals, and everything in between, right? And what's happening right now is that I am proposing that we see, I mean, this is not even a work in progress, it's just an idea. And the company has lots of experts in different areas, right? But none on AI. And I wanted to talk about this with, well, the experts here, right? So you can help me maybe do some ping pong on this and try to figure out if there are some issues with what I'm proposing or if you find some room for improvement.
Sure.
Right now, the company is really focusing on improving services, right? They don't care as much about opportunities on the sales side, but they want to have an excellent way to do online claims and to provide information of the different products that we got. And we already have a chatbot that's built into Core, a product called Core AI, and that can be integrated to APIs with ChatGPT. And what I'm thinking about is, for starters, having something that's really low risk, like, for example, having online claims be done through ChatGPT and being able then to upload, for example, the photos of your car being totaled, stuff like that. Okay. Then maybe move on to customer service a little bit, like solving some questions for customers, eventually to sales of insurance products. Because, for example, it's one thing to ask you, okay, what's your square footage, and give you a couple questions on a form, and then have you choose between different plans for home insurance, right? When lots of coverages are difficult to understand, maybe for an individual customer, it would be way different if an online chatbot could actually guide you through the process of understanding what's best for your personal needs, right? And what I want to propose is that if that goes well, we could even solve lots of things. For example, there are so many people that didn't use an ATM before recently, that we have people in our actual, how do you say, sucursales? Well, in the banks, right? Where officials are actually guiding them on how to point into the different options in the ATM, and stuff like that. And what would happen if, for example, and I think this is something we could actually like really build right now. Let's say, for example, Max paid for dinner yesterday, and I want to transfer $50 to Max, and that's it. And I choose chat. Trump, please transfers the money from dinner last night to Max, and that's it. Or it reminds me to, hey, you paid rent last month by this time, by this date. Would you like me to pay rent for you? And I think all of those solutions could be like not only done better by AI, but we could basically obliterate entry barriers that we currently have, because lots of the new users aren't they never used a bank app before, or and never don't even talk about insurances, right? So I would like to think what you think about my thought process and what kind of challenges I could be facing.
Sure. Well, I can jump in and give some ideas just off the top of my head. So you're spending more time in this than I am, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But for me, I think about banking as um, that there's obviously has to be a lot of care given because it's people's money at the end of the day, right? So it's different than other kinds of applications. So um, maybe there are ways to ease into it, but by focusing on how to solve problems for the user that maybe uniquely would require AI to do that. And I don't know what all those problems might be, but I can think of different kinds of users for this. And one of the users, of course, is the banking customer or the prospective customer of the bank. But another user might be an internal person who is managing customer service, right? Who is, having to, I always say deal with, and when I say deal with, it always sounds like, like you're dealing with an angry child, and I don't mean it that way. You're dealing with the customer uh, in a way that, certainly is respectful and things like that. But there's probably a lot of back and forth interaction, perhaps that's happening, and it might be safer to think about how to solve problems internally first that allow your bank, the company, to tread lightly into the realm of AI without necessarily putting something in front of the end user, the end banking customer immediately. And I'm not advocating to just use AI where it, wherever. And like I really do believe that you got to find the use case and then see if the use case warrants using AI. That's the flag I tend to fly with these things. But for this particular instance, maybe it's worth, if you are trying to evaluate, hey, let's try to ease into what some of the capabilities are of AI, and maybe seeing how it might work in the bank. A way to do that might be first within the walls of the bank, for users internally versus for the banking customers, and see what works, or identify where the challenges are internally that again, may or may not be suited for AI. I don't like throwing AI at everything just for the sake of it. But that's my 2 cents on the situation.
That's really good, honestly. What I thought about for mitigating risk was first, consider this on a product by product basis, right? Because maybe you can be lead for making sure pay your credit card at some point and for transfers at another point. And actually, what I want to try to do in that regard is not do it by the product that's going to be the most impactful, but the one that's going to have the least probability to maybe like wreak havoc, honestly.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I maybe want to try to do it regarding claims first. And not only that, but as you said, for example, if you're dealing with an insurance claim, that's going to be an awful moment for the customer, like no matter what, because either your house is on fire, your car crashed, you just got mugged, and solving this in a way that's kind of empathic, right? But at the same time, not trying to pull a fast one on the customer and making sure they understand that this is an AI and it's not feeling
Yeah.
for them, right? That's something that we really have to understand how we can manage. But it's super interesting the point that maybe doing it internally first. Like for example, now what I'm thinking about is having the customer services people have, for example, a summary of what the customer is asking for first before
Sure,
they ask.
sure.
That would be really good.
That's what I'm thinking about. One in which it's providing summarization. It's making people's day-to-day jobs or jobs to be done faster. Right. So I tend to think of it that way. What is the value that you're providing if you were to, first of all, what problem are you trying to solve? And then how can you solve it? And perhaps there we go. Perhaps AI makes sense. AI makes sense a lot of times with unstructured data, right? So if there's information coming in different formats, or it's PDFs or long form text, or just conversations that are coming in, or then providing that kind of summarization that could help somebody prioritize what they're going to tackle next, or make that job less tedious, or allow the person to, instead of fill in information, to just review what has already been input by AI, right? Like extracting information and putting it in fields, and then you can go and double check and make sure that's right. That may be faster than entering it in from scratch sometimes. And so those are ways I'm thinking, like, you kind of ease into it. It's just one idea.
Yeah,
That's really good.
Then,
Yes.
yeah, please go on.
yeah, please.
Ryota, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, sorry for being late. And yeah, so yeah,
No problem.
Yeah.
I have just listened your ideas, yeah, in the middle of the your speech. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Yes. Go ahead. I think did you want to add something to the discussion?
Yeah, please go on. Yeah.
Okay.
After at the end of the meeting, I will.
Oh, okay.
I have an
Say
idea for
something.
Juan along this internal external thing, because I am constantly, I got in a car accident. I was constantly on the phone with them trying to figure out what the status was, when my money was coming, like, and then this woman, okay, accident was my fault.
Yeah, please turn on your camera.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I didn't realize we'd be doing camera, so I don't want to turn my camera on.
Okay, no problem.
It was my fault. So the woman got a different attorney and was, I'm getting these letters in the mail, like I'm supposedly getting sued. They're actually suing my insurance company. And so I had to call the regular Allstate office to get the number of the claims adjuster again for the accident from like a year and a half ago. And she said, yeah, says she's still going to a doctor for her back. And we were not going that fast. I'm not that bad of a driver. And all these conversations, like if they would have just put an update for me or let me quiz online, that'd be a lot faster. Or like this morning, I just called the Allstate office, which is my insurance company, and I'm asking them what does auto replacement protection plan mean versus auto comprehensive insurance mean? Like, and automobile medical payments, like what do all these mean? So that would be helpful, but they don't have to constantly talk with me and I don't have to call them, right? It's just like an easy start. I think Matt's right about the money thing. I think that's kind of tough considering there's Venmo out there and Zelly and Cash App doing all that kind of stuff, right? And all that security that the company would have to pay for to make sure there weren't issues, right? Like the accounts to get hacked and stuff.
Yeah, and it would give you an easy response to the problem you're having, right?
Yeah.
Also, correct me, guys, if I'm wrong, but if we fed the AI with tons of documentation on how different products works, their risk of hallucination becomes way lower, right?
Well, you've got RAG, certainly you can implement that, but it would require a bunch of testing to make sure that is in fact working the way that you would expect, right? That's one way. Another way to do it, as Val was talking about, like if she's having to go and talk to somebody, another way to ease into it might be to have the AI suggest a response based on the question coming in, and the person then on the receiving end can respond to it. and either use that as the actual text or edit it, right? And I think there are services that do this already. There are, paid services for integrating in chatbots, and obviously call centers have all this kind of software available to them when people call in and need customer service. There's packages out there that do this, but if you're creating something custom because of whatever the case is, I'm a big fan of letting AI do its best job, and then the human finally gives oversight before it goes out the door in these critical situations. So it might be that you could use RAG straight away, or maybe if it's a live conversation back and forth, then you at least make the person's job easier on the receiving end of that conversation.
That's great. Could you share some examples of providers in that area, if you could? That doesn't have to be now.
I don't know. I just know that I'm sure this is a solved problem already for large call centers, and for places that have to do customer service. There is customer service software, I'm quite sure, and based on being in Val's position too, and having to get on a chat bot, they respond very quickly. So I'm quite sure that there are times they can copy and paste something in, or the software is automatically detecting what I'm talking about, and they go and say, oh, give him that response, because it's clearly written faster than anybody could type. So
yeah.
I know
That's a good idea. That's a good idea, Matt. And I would have liked that this morning, because the woman that was talking to me was not helpful. I had to ask her twice. No, actually, I'm asking not how much it cost. What is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that before too. I would say, could you please just read what I'm asking instead of sending me fake, pasting in text, and then I kind of get their attention. And then they're like, prove to me you're an actual human. Please do something, which is a test. Like, it's only going to get, I'm going to say worse, but this prove to me you're an actual human thing. Us humans are pretty dead set on wanting to talk to other people and not computers, with the exception of ChatGPT more recently. But when we need help, like we're in customer service mode, it's a tough one. I still tend to think that if you can make the actual person's job easier, it's a good thing. But if you just put a bot in front of them, they may, it may not garner well on the image.
I have a feeling that there's this kind of like uncanny valley, same as we had it with androids, right? That if they look too much like a human but not enough, it kind of threw you off, right?
Yeah.
When you have really basic chatbots, like nobody got mad, like they knew they had to go to the logical tree to get to customer service. But now when there are solutions that talk to you, but they don't actually tell you that they are an AI, that kind of is really able to piss people off easily.
Yeah.
Actually, my 5 cents on the discussion where the chatbots are making the user experience atrocious. So from my personal experience when talking to customer support at my bank, at my mobile phone, like the connection provider, and some of other companies that I've been reaching out to recently, all of them, for some reason, embedded AI chatbots into their customer support services, and it became like literally impossible to get to a real human being whenever you've got and like a specific use case. So I can't even tell that my use case are like extremely rare or something, but because of the lack of this logical tree that AI can rely on, AI proceeds to suggest me absolutely like trivial solutions to the problem that I don't even have, like a wrong solution for somebody else's problem, and that's basically it. So I think since all this LLM thing blew up and people treat it as actually a chatbot, so ChatGPT is a chatbot that you can message and get a response from. Companies began to embed ChatGPT into their chat functionality, and it became like, from my personal standpoint, it became a disaster because the user experience becomes absolutely awful, like from my point of view as a user. And it would be much better if AI would be used for some internal facing services. For example, yesterday or a couple days ago, Miguel posted into our Share Your Thing channel idea about the AI that would help to generate audit report. So that's basically a software that helps you to the consultancy report generator. So the generator takes in some information that the customer filled in before the call, for example. And based on that information, the AI helps to produce a .ppt presentation that has all the charts, all the valuable information. And after that, the report gets read by an actual human being who's competent to understand whether there are any hallucinations or some information is not correct. And after that, this presentation can go to the customer, and that's it. So in my opinion, if there are any use cases, then that can be covered internally with AI. And on top of that, somebody would check whether those artifacts that get produced by AI are legitimate, are correct, don't have any issues, etc. In my opinion, that would be a perfect place to start. And then you can figure out what other areas can be covered with AI, but internally in the first place. Because when people are, as you mentioned, when companies began to put a chatbot in between themselves and their customers, it basically made the user experience much worse and introduced the man in the middle who is actually a software. And at that point, I think we made a step in the wrong direction in terms of incorporating AI into the businesses. So yeah, that's my 5 cents, I guess, on the issue.
I actually love it. So that's why I had that idea, because I love it. And maybe it depends on the business you're talking to, but I use it on my banks all the time, and they give me the correct answer, their chat box. So I don't know. I think it's probably a something you probably want to pull your customers on, do a survey or something.
I think
just a thought.
Me personally, it can be done, but it has to be done in such a way where your chatbot is not getting information from the wild. That's the problem, because right now, as we saw, Google, the Gemini gets its information from the wild, and I think it just told someone one of the nutritional values of food is eating glue. So everyone is like, there are some cases where the chatbot is accurate. And that is, I don't know his name. I apologize. I apologize. When you use RAG, when you train a chatbot specifically on your company's information, you can get a better result. Such as the girl says she has Allstate, and she needed questions answered about certain terms. That is literally the best use case of a chatbot. Why? Because you can't get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong. It's your company's data. It's your company's terms. It's not looking on the internet for anything.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And in fact, I mean, when you say can't, meaning it totally could, but you really shouldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, I follow you.
So if you're going to do it for insurance claims, you need to train your chatbot on your insurance process, not on insurance process in general.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's just
wow.
This
has been pretty awesome. Honestly, I think I should focus way more on the internal side of things, at least at first, right? And for me, like in order to prioritize, try to focus on less impactful features first in order to see that the level of customer satisfaction actually increases. That's what I should focus on, and then try to scale up from there.
I
Yeah,
think that's
very
where
well.
we're driving. I think that probably what you're hearing from people is that we're especially with banking and getting information right, like John mentioned, man, you gotta validate. You gotta make sure you get it right. And so easing into it in an environment where you aren't putting it in front of the customer directly, you may be giving some internal view, might be a safer path.
Perfect. That's awesome, guys. Really.
Yeah, Ryota,
I think I can give you an example. A good example would be I've kind of decided to do an idea myself. But I've kind of decided to try to make an AI assisted medical procedure. For instance, here in Indonesia, I'm originally from America, but I live in Indonesia with my wife. The medical process is horrible. I went to the hospital one day. I was number 35. I asked him, how long is the wait? He told me 8 hours. And I was like,
Wow.
how is my wait 8 hours and I'm number 35? He said, that's just how the wait is. You can leave and come back if you like.
Mm.
And I'm like, wait a minute, the hospital closes at 6. How am I going to come back?
Yeah.
In this instance, we spend too much time in front of a doctor. You know, we go in, we have to tell him what's wrong. He has to do the checkup. And if we have tests, he has to send us to the lab. My thing was, why not just do that from the beginning? You come in with AI, you tell them what your symptoms are. Well, first you give them your name, your birthday. If you've been there before, it can pull your records automatically. If you're there for an appointment, it can pull your appointment. Then you tell them why you're there. The whole process is to stop you from spending a lot of time in front of a doctor. When you go into a doctor's office, he doesn't really know why you're there. All he knows is, okay, you have a problem, I have to see. If he could figure out, okay, these are his symptoms, this is why he's here, this is his body weight, this is his medical history, I can come in, I may only spend, 20 minutes in front of a doctor instead of, I've been in a doctor's office for 3 hours. Literally. I've been seeing a doctor for 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah. There are applications that there are services that do this to some degree already. Health, where it's remote health, where you can use your phone. It'll connect you with a doctor or a registered nurse, and
Yes,
you can
yes, yes,
they can in some ways triage it a bit, right?
But I want this in because of how bad Indonesia is.
Okay.
I wanted it more of a in-person service. The way
Oh, I see.
we have a problem because I have to come in, I have to sit in the lobby. I may sit in the lobby for an hour before an
Yeah.
attendant sees me. After I sit in the lobby for an hour, I get a number. Now I got to go find where I have to go.
You're basically
Then I
in
have to
line
sit there.
twice, right? You're in line the first time just to get a number to be in line again.
Yes, and that's when the dude told me you're going to have to stay here for 8 hours.
Oh
I'm
boy.
like, that makes no sense. For
Yeah.
insurance, right? Just like with the woman, she said she went and she tried to talk to someone.
Yeah.
There are instances where an AI can basically prep you. They can get all the necessary information, like I say, all the pictures, your side of the story. So a human can actually call you back and get straight to business instead of having to ask. Because I know when I got into my car accident,
Sure.
I spent 6 months explaining the situation. I needed to bring them state police reports. I needed to bring them so many things. Okay, I need you to bring me the total of your car, the cost of your car, how much of the repair is going to be, you know,
Sure.
what body shop are you taking it to? Then got to medical. You said half your back was dislocated. I need to talk to your chiropractor. I need to talk to your physical therapist. There are
Sure.
so many things that you shouldn't have to do in person because it's a pain. I've been through that for 2 years, going through a settlement.
Well, if you're working on something, let me suggest, John, that maybe we have another call, and if you have an application that you're building or that you're focusing on, or even just kind of trying to spec out, we should get on a separate community call and talk through it, and we can spend some more time, and you can, even if you have anything to show or ideas that you want to lay out, we can talk through it and use that as a place to help you brainstorm and maybe think it through if you like.
That's what I'm doing right now. My biggest hurdle is a lot of the medical data sets. They have a restriction. You cannot include it in an application that people have to pay for.
Yeah, that's
one of the best.
That's true.
One of the best data sets is Med 42. That is one of the best data sets in the world. You can use it for free as long as your application is free.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah,
Google Palm 2. You can use Google Palm 2, but you have to jump through so many hoops. You either have to be a registered medical facility, or you have to be a Google Cloud user, and you have to ask them, and they can just say no.
Yeah,
that's the main hurdle.
Yeah, that sounds like a big issue, honestly. So yeah, John, if you'd like to schedule another call to talk through that. And like, by the way, we've got plenty of software products that were built by our community members who that are focused on the healthcare. If I'm not mistaken, we've got like at least 2 of those. So I'll try to find those, and probably you might be interested in the ways how AI can be applied in the healthcare industry. So yeah, I'll share that with you. So yeah, I
Thank
think
you. I appreciate it.
yeah,
Sure
yeah.
thing.
But by the way, Josh, I've put your brother information on the slide.
Yeah, no worries.
So, yeah, do you have any suggestions about the like how AI can be used in the banking industry or the insurance or that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I guess I just put a little plug for what we're working on in the chat. And I'm not the most technical person, so forgive me if I speak to anything incorrectly. But yeah, just in terms of what we're building, what we keep hearing from people is basically these issues that John brought up around data and getting data access. Right, there are these like Hugging Face and other open public models, but they're usually pretty restricted in what you're legally able to do with them. But we've been kind of working on is making it easier for AI developers to have access to good RAG models. So yeah, I don't have too much insight other than maybe check us out and see if we have a model that might help you out. Right now, we only have 2 models up there. One that connects you to verified stock market data with a partnership with a company we called Polygon.io. And then we also have a Google search API up there as well. So you can really easily connect your AI to Google search basically. And, that way, if you're not super happy with like the Bing default search that OpenAI provides, for example, you can have a way to be Googling things or have your AI Google things on your behalf. But yeah, not too much insight other than this is exactly the type of issue that we keep running into, and so we think it's really important for developers to find a way to get to verified data. And that's sort of where we're coming from and what we're working on.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Good to know.
Okay, Aravind, I've noticed that you've joined a bit late, so just for you to know, we've been discussing the ways to apply AI in the healthcare industry, the insurance, and the banking sector. So if you will have some ideas on how that can be done, you can feel free to share that.
Yeah, thank you, Max. Actually, I'm very new to this community. So this is the first meeting I'm attending. So I'm just getting all the insights. So I'm Arvind. I'm working in the IT industry for the company Synopsys.
Oh, Synopsys in
Yes.
I mean the EDA company.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I used to work on
So
Synopsys tools. Very cool.
Yeah. So healthcare and all, I just it's all new to me. So I'm just taking a time to understand all this.
Okay, so we won't pressure you on that, I guess. So yeah, just in case, we are a small community of tech professionals who are interested in AI. So if you are software engineer, as you mentioned, and you are interested in how AI can be applied to different areas, then you're in a perfect place. So yeah, welcome to AI Product Hive.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so let's jump to the next topic, I guess. So this is the Rabbit R1 drama. So that basically what happened is that the company that claimed they would build an AI assistant basically collected $20 million dollars, if I'm not mistaken, in pre-sales, fundraised, I guess, the same amount from the VCs, and eventually it turned out that this is the basically the Android application that can be run on the mobile phone, as well as the hardware is actually a super simple thing that can be done in your garage, basically, from the super cheap components. And it turned out that the whole idea was kinda scammy, because the founder of that software and like the Rabbit R1 hardware been allegedly like tied to some crypto scamming issues. But the whole concept of fake AI demos is something that is extremely like I guess popular right now among different founders, because it helps you to raise money, and unfortunately a lot of people are falling for that. So there is a great blog post on the Planorama Design webpage. So the link is at the bottom of the slide. You can check that out. And yeah, Matt, do you have anything to share about the latest AI issues with those demos?
There's two things, right? There's just blatantly lying, and that's terrible, right? Like and I'm not alleging any. I'm just saying that, look, we've seen demos. We've seen this allegedly from Google, even when they were showing their AI some months ago, and then they got caught because it really wasn't working in the real time. It really wasn't doing what it was they showed or depicted it would do in the video, and that was a shame. And those are demos that, you show it doing one thing, but it was all contrived, and they make it look like it was working in real time, doing the thing that they said it would do. And that's just unethical, right? That's one thing. But some of the other things, though, when you dive into like the humane pin, that thing that you're supposed to wear on your chest, like you're in Star Trek, or the rabbit, which is a red box you're supposed to carry around in your other pocket because the phone's in the one pocket already. So these are contrived, I think, in terms of use cases. They don't have a use case. They make up use cases, and then they say, well, here's how you'll be able to work in the future. Here's how, I can talk to my rabbit and have it order me an Uber, and whether or not that functionality even works is one thing, and that's the ethical issue if they're saying it will, but it won't. But the other part of it is the use cases just all seem made up. Who's gonna plan a trip to Paris? Who's gonna have a dinner reservation made for me at the best restaurant, right? Nobody wants to interact with a computer because we all have questions about, well, it depends if this or that or this or that. And I want to see what they do. I want to see the food. I'm not going to go and just order from a place I've never been before. So they seem to make up these use cases, and that's where I'll go back to like solid requirements is still king. Like, know the problems that your customers are having and know how to solve them in a way that is realistic and not just throwing AI at it just for the hell of it. It seems like the rabbit and this humane pin were kind of doing that. We're really not having a solid use case, and therefore, surprise, it didn't. It sold, but I don't think it's going to be around for a long time if they sold at all, or the reviews are terrible because it's unusable in its current form. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. That's what I was trying to say in the blog post. But I'll leave it there.
I absolutely agree. Like, I feel they were kind of doomed from the start because what kind of use case would you want from AI, right? Like maybe solve the simplest things like do an alarm, oh yeah, answer this email saying this, then and that, right? And they can do that with your phone because they don't have the permissions, right? So that's why they needed to build a separate hardware, but that separate hardware is gonna be worse than doing it yourself on your phone. And what's gonna happen when eventually, like, there's no question about it, both Apple and Google start introducing those features into their softwares, like your company is gonna become non-existent. So
yeah, you're right. There's not even a moat. There's no moat around your product, right? Because if Google wanted to do it, they could do it, and they can access anything they want on their phone.
Exactly, and they have the resources to do it better or faster than you can. So
yeah, even if you succeed, it'll be for a little bit, and they'll eat you up.
Like the best case scenario is being bought, and that's it.
Yeah,
if even.
And being bought is not always the best case scenario. Look at Loom. They sold for what, 950 million, and I think they said all the founders maybe only got 1 or 2 million a piece, just a few million a piece.
Is that right? I know they were bought.
Yeah.
They were bought by Atlassian, weren't they?
Yeah, and I think they got sold for like 950 million.
Is that right?
And
that's good.
The problem was they didn't own majority of their company, if I'm not mistaken, from what I heard.
I knew they were bought, John. I didn't realize what the founders got. I use Loom a lot. I love it. But it's a shame to hear that they didn't do so hot on the exit.
Yeah,
that's
unfortunate. But yeah, so talking about demos, I've got this feeling that people who are trying to come up with those use cases are usually marketing people. So it feels like, for example, in the Google's case, the marketing team came out and said, hey, we want to have this wow effect. So people need to talk about us, and we need to come up with some absolutely fantastic futuristic ideas that the AI would overthrow everything that you've already, like the new iPhone presentation. So somebody would need to disrupt the market, etc. And I've got the feeling that even if the engineers who were behind that software tried to cool down a bit and like calm those people and say that, yeah, this is not possible to implement right now. I've got the feeling that like this whole thing being driven by the marketing team in the first place, that those people who made the actual decisions were unaware of what the capabilities of the software that they are presenting were. In the Rabbit case, this is the pure marketing thing. So those people are trying to ride the wave of AI hype right now and basically failing. So that's the issue. So like I think that it's like I'm 100% sure that in 5 years I would be able to ask my mobile phone to order me a tickets or to buy like reserve me a place at the restaurant or something like this. Because I'm 100% sure there will be companies that would integrate some of those restaurants into their AI assistant and integrate that AI assistant with ChatGPT via the API, for example. And those companies would be responsible for ordering the table, for example. So like concierge services that would be basically handling your use cases would be like number one like growing business. Like this is something that I think would happen. But for now, yeah, it's like pure marketing and nothing behind that facade, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the big difference.
Just a quick question. Does anybody actually think that the AI boom is just like a fad?
I think that a lot of the companies that are sprouting up are a fad in the sense that, you know, these conversations we're having about Rabbit and Humane, they're pointing to the fact that ultimately, to me, it seems still whoever is king of the hardware is going to end up being the king of the AI side of things, because I don't see how, if you are Siri or Google Assistant or whatever, you are not the point of contact for online. It is just the shift away from an app-based UI to a more conversational experience where I can tell the phone what needs to happen and the phone will make it happen. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's very hard for me to see a world where the kings of this are not the people who own the hardware, is my takeaway. So I think there's certainly a bubble there. Like we're going to see so many self-serve and kind of different approaches to AI. You know, and right, and that's the thing with AGI too, right? We can build these really hyper specific you know, tools that do this one aspect really well. You know, maybe it's something like a healthcare AI or whatever. I don't want to, you know, imagine something, but as we get, you know, as the tools get more powerful, it's hard to picture something that can't do it all, right? Like even if you've built out your very specific thing that maybe, like a big thing we've seen is legal assistance, right? It can manage your legal calls or whatever. But it's hard to picture that eventually Siri won't just be smart enough to take that task on too. So yeah, I don't know.
It's hard when you have people trying to start businesses that are really just front end, a product as a front end for a prompt, right? Then it's not, and you're really in a position where it's going to be you don't have a protection, right? And if anybody figures out your prompts, then they got your product, right? So that's not a defensible position. And I think we've seen over the past year and such, we've been able to look at many of these startups that have just been front ends for prompts. I agree with you completely on the hardware side. The big LLMs, the big companies are going to own the LLMs, and if you have the hardware already in people's hands, some of that capability is just, if you make something, they're going to make it too, and they can make it on everybody's phone automatically. So that's going to be a challenge. But I do like, and this is the area that you're playing in, Joshua, is the specific LLMs, Hugging Face LLMs, the ones that you can run on your own hardware, that you can train with your own data, you can get set up. That is a bit more defensible, I think, right? And now your solution is not something somebody can just throw up and use one of the commercial LLMs to emulate necessarily, depending on how you put your data in and how you have it trained up. So I think that's a bit more of a defensible position to be in. You know.
Okay, with that being said,
behind your AI is going to be key, at least in the short term, until we're really at a general intelligence. It is going to be your ability to differentiate by having some unique access to data, I think.
Yeah.
With that being said, what do you think about Elon Musk's new XAI? It's going to be built, I think, on the NVIDIA 100 series. It's going to be bigger. They say it's going to be bigger, probably one of the biggest LLMs to date. It's going to be a direct competitor against Microsoft and Google as soon as it comes out in 2025. It's hardware based. He'll have the largest hardware based LLM.
Yeah, Matt dropped off because he had an upcoming call. So yeah, talking about the Elon Musk thing, like actually I'm a bit skeptical about that. So like I have no idea whether like, okay, I'll give some context so that the people who are not on Twitter would understand what I'm talking about. So a couple days ago, he had a huge beef with Jan LeCun on Twitter, and like it turned out that he usually is not super aware of what he's talking about. So for example, he denied that Tesla uses convolutional neural networks, which is obviously not the case because all the computer vision models are relying on the convolutional neural networks until some degree. So, and this is not the first time when like he's been not entirely correct in terms of like technical stuff. So I think like he's an skilled entrepreneur. This is 100%. But I would treat everything that he claims with a grain of salt, because he already started Hyperloop that ended up nowhere. He built some other stuff that is not like kind of thing that might be I guess reliable. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, those are my two cents, I think. Yeah, I guess people left. So yeah, I guess John, been super glad to meet you. I think we'll talk to you on Slack as well. Aravind, welcome to AI Product Hive. I'm super glad to.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll be a big security risk or problem if they put there's two issues now. Do you think there'll be a problem if they install AI in vehicles like Tesla, stuff like that? Would that be a bigger security risk? That's the one question. There's another question. Me and one of my students, I teach English sometimes. We talked about it. She is an actual AI developer, and we were talking about it. And there's something that the U.S. military did that not too many people know about. We'll deal with the first one first. Do you think that AI will be a security risk if it is put in cars?
Actually, it already is, because today I've been so like I think the people that were discussing that matter might be a bit biased, but the case is that like it's not a secret that some of the Chinese companies were banned in the US because allegedly they've had spyware embedded into their basically operating systems and etc. And Paul Graham, the head of the Y Combinator, shared the car export statistics on Twitter, and people in that discussion pointed out that Chinese cars do have cameras everywhere, like the same way Tesla does. Basically, Tesla is full of cameras to enable self-driving and track everything that happens around the car. So that might impose security risk from the like at least the video perspective, because the cameras that would be driving everywhere, they 100% would collect a huge massive of data. And for example, if that data would go through Chinese servers, it would be possible for like, I have no idea how that works under the hood, but for
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
It's possible for real time, I guess, recon, like Ring camera. They don't tell people that Ring camera, Amazon stores all Ring camera data on their servers and keeps it.
Yep.
I know what you mean. The reason why I asked that is because there are 3 developments from the United States military. 2 were about a week ago. 1 was about a year ago. I seriously think the 1 a year ago is more disturbing than the 2 last week. The 1 a year ago was that they had been working with the Aegis missile system and the F-35 radar, to where they can fire a missile and have an F-35 take control of it. The radar, not the pilot. The radar takes control of it, and it gets to choose what target it hits. This was the AI that they put in the F-35. And they can literally launch a missile, have an F-35 in the area, and the radar will pick it up, take control of it, and tell it, okay, you're going to hit this target in Iran. The radar. I find that a little disturbing because I don't know how that's regulated, because the pilot has no control over the radar. In this case, he can't say, okay, you can't do that. The radar has total control, which is weird to me. The other 2 last week were that the United States military finally got a fully autonomous fighter jet, an F-16 with no pilot. It actually beat a human pilot in the test run. In a dogfight, it actually beat a human pilot. That's very disturbing. That's very disturbing because I remember the movie
Stealth.
Yeah. And what did the AI do? The first thing the AI did was, I'm not going off book. I'm sticking to the mission. Doesn't matter how many people I kill, I have to complete the mission. And he killed a lot of people because they gave it control to do that. The last one is Manus, fully autonomous submarine. It literally can sit on the bottom of the ocean, monitor ships in the region, and if it feels a ship is a threat, it can fire upon itself. It has no human crew. It makes all the decisions by itself. I know this is going to sound like paranoid, but it seems like now we're kind of entering the age of Skynet.
So I've got some insights on that, but I guess we'll stop the recording right now. So yeah, if you're watching the recording, thank you very much for doing that, and see you on the next call.